Habari, mi naitwa Jumoja. Today I want to talk about Bobi Wine on this podcast. You see Bobi Wine there kneeling down for some man in Uganda. Today I want to talk about how Bobi Wine is not fit to be a president of Uganda. And if you vote for Bobi Wine, whom are you voting into power? Let me tell you straight the answer. If you vote for Bobi Wine, you're voting the person Bobi Wine kneels down for. The person Bobby Wine kneels down for is the one you are voting in power indirectly if you vote Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine is more loyal to the person he kneels down for than Uganda. Bobby Wine is not a patriot as he claims, but Bobby Wine is a monarchist who is more loyal to the person he kneels down for than loyal to Uganda or even Africa. So Bobby Wine is not perfect to rule Uganda because if you vote Bobby Wine, you're voting some monarchy to rule Uganda because Bobby Wine is gonna take his commands. Listen again. Bobby Wine will take the commands from the person he kneels down for. That is Kabaka. You understand? So, voting for Bobby Wine is a mistake. Look at that behavior of Bobby Wine kneeling down, laying down on his stomach for some for the Kabaka. But Bobby Wine can't do this for Ugandans. So Bobby Wine is a lie. Bobby Wine, when Bobby Wine says he's fighting for Ugandans, Bobby Wine is a lie. Look at his music. How many songs has Bobby Wine praised Uganda? Barely none. How many songs has Bobby Wine praised the person he kneels down for? Many. What does that tell you about Bobby Wine? Bobby Wine is not loyal or patriotic to Uganda or even East Africa. Bobby Wine is more loyal to the person he kneels down for. So Bobby Wine is not fit to rule Uganda because, again, listen, if you vote Bobby Wine into power, you're voting the person he kneels down for. That's why Western Uganda, you don't have to vote Bobby Wine. Northern Uganda, you don't have to vote Bobby Wine. Well, Eastern Uganda, you don't have to vote Bobby Wine. Central Uganda, you don't have to vote Bobby Wine. We need a person who puts Uganda or East Africa first, not a person who puts some other man first. That's what Bobby Wine says. Even Bobby Wine has said the person he kneels down for can't be condemned. I'm telling you, that's the biggest mistake. Because if Bobby Wine is voted as president, then Bobby Wine is not gonna condemn that person he kneels down for. Listen again, the person Bobby Wine kneels down for will be above Bobby Wine, meaning that man, even if Bobby Wine is president, Bobby Wine will kneel down for that person. And guess what? Uganda will go into showers. Uganda will go into chaos. You understand? Because East Africa, Uganda will all go into chaos because Bobby Wine will take the command from a monarchy rather than a democratic people of Uganda and East Africa. You understand? So anybody who supports Bobby Wine without looking and understanding Bobby Wine's history of not being a patriot to Uganda and Africa Mashariki, you deluded. Because Bobby Wine is a very weak person to rule Uganda. Because a real president doesn't do what Bobby Wine is doing here in the photos, laying down and showing that the other man is above him. Being a president is like being a military general. You understand? You have to call very important decisions. But Bobby Wine doesn't have that to call very important decisions. The person who will call decisions for Bobby Wine will be the person he kneels down for. Think about this. In Western Uganda, for Bobby Wine to make a decision, Bobby Wine will first ask the person he kneels down for, the Kabaka from Central Uganda. Think about that. If Bobby Wine is making a decision for Northern Uganda, Bobby Wine will first ask the Kabaka. If Bobby Wine is making decisions for Eastern Uganda, he will make decisions what Kabaka approves. So Bobby Wine will end up putting other regions down and only raising the Kabaka up. I'm telling you. So you have to avoid Bobby Wine because Bobby Wine type of hypocrisy that he has shown in these photos and these actions toward the Kabaka, singing for the Kabaka all the time, but no single song he has sung for a country like Uganda, no single song he has sung for a region like East Africa or even Africa. That tells you what Bobby Wine is. Bobby Wine is not a perfect leader. Bobby Wine can conform. Bobby Wine can follow the Kabaka and leave politics alone because politics for a country like Uganda calls a very strong leader. For a diverse country like Uganda calls for a very strong leader, not a weak-minded, kneeling person like Bobby Wine who will call shots from another person. My last take is, if you vote Bobby Wine again, you're voting the Kabaka indirectly. The Kabaka will call the shots. I promise you guys. So let's avoid Bobi Wine for better East Africa, for better Uganda, for better Kenya, for better Tanzania by not voting him into power. Thank you guys, and I'll appreciate if you leave a comment. Na Mungu awabariki. East Africa tuko pamoja.